Hello friends, and welcome to Learning Across Kansas. I'm your middle school host, Mrs. Smoke, and I'm beyond excited to join you again this week. Learning Across Kansas is a partnership between the Kansas State Department of Education and the Kansas Public Broadcasting Service. Together, we want to ensure that your education continues as we deal with social distancing and the health issues facing our society. In today's show, we're hitting the road and discovering how each one of us plays a role in making the world a better place through civic engagement and positive relationships. First, we'll unpack the term the power of one with Mr. Wolf and Derby, and then we'll explore how one person can make a positive difference on the environment with Mrs. Hillman and Mrs. Bowden. Later in the show, we'll take a photo challenge with Kansas City's own AY-Musik to show the importance of connections. We'll then journey to Fort Scott to learn about integrity with Counselor Schrader and visit the Lowell Milken Center for Unsung Heroes with Mr. Barikmo. Then we'll try our hands at a human connection doodle with Mrs. Farha and then wrap up with random acts of kindness through technology with Mr. Gudde. But first, let's begin continuous learning in Derby with Mr. Wolf as he unpacks the power of one. Take it away, Mr. Wolf.
When I think of the number one, I think of the NCAA basketball tournament's closing song, One Shining Moment. The number one is a powerful number, and through this episode, you are going to see just how important you, as one person, can be. Let's break down the number one first. O stands for opportunity. Each one of us has an opportunity every day to celebrate the unique characteristics and strengths another human brings to this world. We have 1,440 minutes a day to remind someone of the importance they have in our lives and in the world. N stands for new. Find new and creative ways to celebrate this. It can be funny, artistic. Think of something short. Think of something that no one else has done. Make it unique. And the E stands for empower. By doing this, you can empower others to do the same. The feeling you get when you know that you have made a positive difference in someone else's life makes you want to continue. It makes you empowered. Here are some ways that I like to acknowledge and empower in a unique way people in my life that have impacted it positively and that have impacted the world. Writing and sending thank you notes. Another activity I like to do to acknowledge the people that have made my life and the world a better place is to find a little memento, maybe that be a candy bar or a thank you note or a postcard, and drive to their house, go up to their door, place it on their door, ring their doorbell, and run as fast as I can away. Some other ways to honor and remember the people that have given so much to your life and the life of others is to email them, send them a postcard, send them a video message on your cell phone, give them a shout out on social media, possibly even an in-person face-to-face reminder. Sometimes I like to write a person's initials on my hand so I can remind me to think of that person, to go up and thank them throughout the day and tell them that they've been on my mind and they have made a difference in my life. So for this week's journal, what I want you to do is make a list of all of the people that have made your world and our world a better place. And think of ways that you can give an opportunity in a new and unique way to empower that person to have their one shining moment.
Hey there, Kansas scholars. Today, we're talking about the story of one. One Earth, one person, one choice at a time. You see, we're all given choices every single day with positive and negative impacts on other things. Today, we're going to, that's right, study the story and watch the story of one bottle.
Our choices for our one bottle story are to reuse it, then recycle it, and this will lead to reducing its impact. When it is time to purchase any item, stop and consider how long could it last if I reused it? And at the end of its total use, can I recycle it? Always remember to place a used item in the appropriate receptacle. Look for the symbols. Your choices matter. It only takes a moment and it can change our One Earth's story.
Water is everywhere. My scholars, your body is made up of 70% of water. And that means you need to be drinking water all of the time. About 4 or 5 of our reusable bottles a day, and even more if you're active. Now, I have an invitation for you. Our reusable bottle, well, it took a journey through one of the most beautiful cities here in Kansas and Missouri, Kansas City. Now, this bottle had a great time and it kept me hydrated. Let's go. Our challenge this week is the story of one bottle tally marks. For every day of the week, I want you to make a tally mark for each bottle of water that you drink. Not only that, if you use the same bottle, that means you're reusing that bottle. I want you to highlight that bottle. By the end of the week, I want to see the total H2O that you've taken in and how many bottles that you've saved. Hydration Nation. The story of one water bottle. Our One Earth needs us to make great choices. To reuse, to recycle, and that's going to help us reduce. Science is everywhere. Don't forget to drink your water. Until next time.
That's awesome, Mrs. Hillman. And what a cool tour of Kansas City landmarks. And P.S., you have some serious bottle tossing skills. Well done. Speaking of the power of one person's impact on the environment, let's take this learning a little bit further and visit with Mrs. Bowden from Andover, who will help us learn to tell stories with data. Mrs. Bowden, it's all yours.
The power of one. One person, one story, one interaction, one number. What I love about mathematics is how numbers tell us stories without any words. Whether it's a date, weight, time, or graph, they are often linked with a story or a memory. Today, you'll see how data can tell a story about our habits and how our positive choices can make a global impact. In mathematics, we use graphs to model, organize, and explain a collection of data. The shape of the line usually tells us a story about the data. Let's take a look at a graph that tells multiple stories within it. What do you notice about the shape of the line? How does this data make you feel? What do you wonder about? This graph shows how many tons of plastic were recycled in the US each year since 1980. It tells the story that our recycling habits have grown and grown, which is awesome. But watch what happens when we bring in more information. The graph starts to tell a different story. Although recycling of plastics has increased over time, so has our consumption of plastics. Let's collect some of our own recycling data. What story does your recycling bin tell? Each item is part of a data set which tells the story of your recycling and consumption habits. I'm going to make my own data display using items from my recycling bin. I encourage you to make one with me. You will need recycled items for 1 week, a place to display your data, and a utensil to record it. First, Label your x-axis with each type of material you find in your bin. Our y-axis will represent the number of each item we have. Let's graph. Observe and analyze your data. What material are you using the least of? What about the most? Try reusing some of the things that would otherwise be thrown away or recycled. For example, plastic bottles can be turned into bird feeders. Glass bottles and aluminum cans can be used to help new plants grow. The power of one person, story, graph, number, and piece of trash all have the ability to change the world in a positive way. Go forth, world changers. Until next time.
What's up? I'm AY. I'm an artist, a musician, and I founded the one and only Battery Tool. One person can change the world. One action can make a difference. What one person can do is limitless. I use music and performance to use my power of one to make a positive impact on the world. Each and every one of us is an outlet for change. So plugged into each other, together, we can change the world. Okay, so we're gonna do the outlet challenge. Take a look, this is an outlet right here, guys. Take a picture of an outlet and send us that picture so we know that you're an outlet for change, that you believe in the power of one, and that together, plugged in, we can change the world. I be the one them call AY sustainability icon. This is my community, my music, my story. What's yours?
Hey parents, you're doing great! With Kansas school buildings closed and homes being turned into classrooms, parents and caregivers have expanded their roles in their students' learning. This is a new experience for most of us, so let's show one another a little grace. When you and your students start to feel overwhelmed or stressed, take a break. It's really okay. Keeping students interested and engaged in learning is the key to success. Remember, you have an entire community of fellow caregivers and teachers to lean on. Reach out. Together, Kansans can.
Okay, how cool is AY? His photo challenge is a great way to show how we're all connected, and I can't wait to see what photos you are sharing. It's time for a field trip to one of my favorite museums in all of Kansas, the Lowell Milken Center for Unsung Heroes in Fort Scott. There, visitors can experience the stories of incredible people in math, science, and history who all share one thing in common. They chose to stand up and make a difference for their communities, even when it wasn't the popular decision. You know, it takes a great deal of courage and integrity to do so, and Counselor Maret, Schrader, and Mr. Barikmo will explain more.
Gandhi once said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." I think that we can all agree that we want to live in a world that is peaceful and full of kind people. But how do we get there? We get there by you. It all starts with you. You are the power of one. Today I want to talk about integrity and ethics. Having integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Let's take a look at a familiar example.
Karen, have you finished your homework today?
Ugh, he's always nagging me to do my homework. The truth is no, I haven't done my homework. But how would he know? I could just tell him yes and he would never know.
Hello, Karen.
Who are you?
I'm your conscience, that little voice in your head that helps you with right versus wrong. You have a decision to make here, Karen. You could lie and maybe get away with it, but is that the right thing to do? Is that what you want to be known for? A liar? Is that your legacy?
My what?
Your legacy. A legacy is the lasting memory created by a person formed by the choices they made.
Well, I definitely don't want to leave a legacy that I'm dishonest. No, Dad, I haven't. I'll do it right now.
So we are going to hit the road and we're going to head on down to Fort Scott, Kansas to see what the Lowell Milken Center for Unsung Heroes has in terms of the power of one. So, are we ready to hit the road?
Yeah!
Let's hit the road! The center highlights the stories of individuals who took actions to improve the lives of others. It inspires us to make a positive difference in the world and asks us, what change can I create today? Let's go take a look and listen and hear about the power of one. An unsung hero is an individual who is largely unrecognized by society for taking extraordinary actions that improve the lives of others and that made a profound and positive impact on history. The story that begins it all for the Center for Unsung Heroes is the story of Irena Sendler. Her story was researched and written by students at Uniontown High School in Kansas in 1999. She was a Catholic social worker in Warsaw, Poland, who risked her life over and over to rescue 2,500 Jewish children during the Nazi occupation of World War II. Her work was dangerous, put her at risk of death from the Gestapo, and caused her to live under a cloud of suspicion and secrecy. But she was committed to the important work of saving anyone she could from the horrors of the Nazi regime. Disguising herself as a nurse and working with colleagues in the social welfare department, she created false documents to rescue the children in the Warsaw Ghetto. Once the children were out, she wrote down the children's Jewish names, the parents' Jewish names, their new Christian names, age, and where they were located. She placed all those slips of paper in jars and buried under the shade of a close friend's apple tree. But throughout all of this, she kept asking, did I do enough? Yes, Irena, you did, and so much more. The story of Ken Reinhardt is a little closer to home. He could have had a typical senior year, but his actions put him in a place to become very unpopular, but to stand with what was right. In 1957, our country was in the heat of the civil rights struggle, and Little Rock Central High School was set to be one of the first to desegregate. Elizabeth Eckford missed a communication about the plan and showed up to the Little Rock Central High School steps on September 4th, 1957. She was met by the angry mob. Students researching this story asked Eckford an important question. Were there any white students who befriended you? And she responded, yes, Ken Reinhardt and Ann Williams. Ken faced bullies, threats, acts of hatred, simply because he was kind to his black classmates. So the question is, what do you stand for? And as a participant once said, I learned that one person can change the world, and that brings hope for my generation.
Mr. Barikmo just showed us two examples from history of people who left a legacy of showing integrity. In each of their situations, they had a choice to make. And the thing about showing integrity is that oftentimes the right thing isn't always the popular thing. According to the Lowell Milken Center for Unsung Heroes, Ken could have been just another high school senior at that Arkansas school. He could have kept his head down, blended in, and skated by unscathed. He could have simply been another unmemorable guy on the wrong side of history. But he didn't, and you saw what extraordinary events followed because of his choice. The thing about middle school that's really exciting is that every day I see middle school students figuring out who they are. What do you stand for? What's your reputation? It's up to you, just you. What is the legacy that you want to leave in the world? At the time, the choice that you're up against may seem small and insignificant, like Karen and her dad. It's just a little lie, right? Who knows? Maybe that's what Irena and Ken thought. Why does it even matter? But they are a prime example about how the power of one person can change the world.
Welcome back. I'm Mrs. Smoke with Learning Across Kansas. Now that we've explored more about the power of one, have you been considering how you can play a role in making a positive difference? Perhaps Mrs. Farha's Human Connection Doodle and Mr. Gudde's Tech Challenge will help you get started. Grab your notebook, friends, and let's go.
To be human means to have connections with others. Some we're lucky enough to have from birth, and others we're lucky enough to find along the way. Today's doodle art will help us to think about who we are and who has helped shape us.
Grab your journal. The first thing I did was to write down important people from my childhood. I know I could fill a whole journal just about important people, but 8 or less works for this doodle.
As I sat to think about the people who have influenced me, I thought of a singular character trait that they exhibit that encouraged me to do the same in my life. My parents, sisters, teachers, and friends all bring different good qualities that teach me to be a better person. Grab a cup or something to trace circles with. Trace a circle for each person or group that you've listed. It's better if the circles overlap. Write one character trait around each ring. Repeat the word until it finishes the circle. When you're finished writing all of the character traits, you'll see how all of these people in our lives link together as a part of us. Color in your circle segments with different colors and add the names of your influential people. Someday you will be on someone's list of important humans with your own traits. And the human connections will continue.
Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Gudde. I want to inspire you today to be a game changer in your community. Have you ever received a gift from someone and you were extremely grateful for receiving it? Did you know the person? What if it was a gift from a complete stranger? Would that change your attitude towards the gift? I want to encourage you to get out and gift a complete stranger in your community. Write some notes of encouragement and do some random acts of kindness. These random acts of kindness could change the world of the person receiving the gift. Now, what about those people in your life that mean the world to you? Do you want to change their world? Let's hop into a digital world and make a digital thank you card with your personal touch. From here, we're going to go and open up Google Slides and make sure to label the Google Slides what you're creating, which is a thank you card. So as we do that, there's a lot of fun things we can do with this. And the first thing we want to do is create some color. So let's create a background. I like to use gradients. After that, add your personal touch by creating a text box and adding some personal text to it. You can also add a video. You can add some personal pictures to it. And once you're finished, go ahead and send it to the person that you wish to share your thanks to. Now I want to challenge everyone to go out and create digital messages and send them to the people who you care about, and also get around town and create those random acts of kindness that actually brings our community together and to help make someone's day. Again, in the end, be kind.
Kansas school buildings may be closed for the remainder of the academic year, but school is still in session. Keeping students engaged in the learning process during this extraordinary time is critical for their ongoing success. We salute our teachers, parents, and guardians who are committed to ensuring their students finish this year strong. We're all ready for our lives to get back to normal, but until that time, Kansas students, keep learning and keep working towards your goals. Together, Kansans can.
I hope you've enjoyed this learning journey with us today. Remember, opportunities for you to make a positive impact on another person's life is just an idea away. Whether you send a text and say thank you for being a positive person in my life, choose to deliver a handful of flowers to a neighbor, write an encouraging message in chalk on your driveway, or choose to share some of your extras with those in need, you are making a positive impact. Yes, you hold the power of one. So that's our show for today, friends. We'll be back with more teachers and more lessons very soon. I've been your host, Mrs. Smoke, and you've been watching Learning Across Kansas, a partnership between the Kansas State Department of Education and the Kansas Public Broadcasting Service. Until next time.